My name is Ella Thompson, 34 years old, and until last month, I thought I knew what family meant. My sister Amanda and I were inseparable growing up, sharing everything from clothes to secrets. But people change. When she told me I was no longer welcome at her wedding because I did not fit her aesthetic, something inside me broke. So I did what any heartbroken photographer would do. I booked a one-way ticket to Japan. If you have ever had family betray you, drop a heart in the comments and let me know where you are watching from. Hit subscribe to follow my journey from heartbreak to unexpected freedom in Japan and discover how her perfect wedding crumbled while I was finding myself halfway across the world. Amanda and I grew up in a modest 3-bedroom house in Portland, sharing not just a bedroom but seemingly one brain between us. Just 20 months apart, we operated like twins, finishing each other's sentences and developing our own secret language that drove our parents crazy. Our bedroom walls were plastered with magazine cutouts of places we swore we would visit together someday. Amanda would handle the planning, I would capture the memories with my camera, the perfect team. I can still picture us building blanket forts on rainy Oregon weekends, flashlights illuminating our secret world as we whispered about our dreams. Amanda always wanted a big, beautiful wedding with hundreds of guests. I dreamed of adventures in faraway places, capturing beauty through my camera lens. Even then, our paths were diverging, though we were too young to see it. Everything changed when I was 12, and Amanda was 14. Our parents sat us down in the living room one Sunday evening, the television uncharacteristically silent. Dad had been sleeping in the guest room for weeks, but we had convinced ourselves it was because of his back problems. The divorce announcement shattered our childhood bubble, Mom cried. Dad stared at his hands. But what I remember most vividly was Amanda grabbing my hand under the table, squeezing so tight it almost hurt silently, promising we would get through this together. That night, we pushed our twin beds together and slept side by side for the first time in years. I wept quietly into my pillow, and Amanda stroked my hair until I fell asleep. For all her bossy older sister tendencies, Amanda became my protector, my constant during those turbulent teenage years when our family structure crumbled and reformed into something unfamiliar. When I struggled with math, Amanda tutored me patiently after school. When nasty girls made fun of my second-hand clothes, Amanda intervened her confidence, intimidating even the meanest bullies into silence. I admired her so much, it sometimes hurt this sister, who seemed to navigate the world with a certainty I never possessed. College separated us physically, but not emotionally. Amanda pursued a business degree at University of Washington, while I studied photography at Portland State, staying closer to home. We called each other daily, sharing campus dramas, roommate, horror stories, and romantic disasters. Every holiday and summer break felt like a reunion tour, picking up exactly where we left off. Yet subtle changes were happening. Amanda joined a sorority, surrounded herself with polished, ambitious friends whose parents were doctors and executives. Her wardrobe evolved from thrift store finds to designer labels she could barely afford on her part-time banking job. Her calls became shorter, filled with stories about networking events and internship opportunities. I was proud of her drive, but confused by her new priorities. When I shared excitement about my photography professor submitting my work to a student showcase, Amanda responded with distracted congratulations before launching into a story about meeting the daughter of a Seattle real estate mogul at a charity gala. When Amanda met Jordan Whitfield during her senior year, I was genuinely happy for her. He came from old Seattle money, his family name attached to several downtown buildings. But unlike the pretentious rich guys she had dated before, Jordan seemed refreshingly authentic. When I finally met him during a weekend visit, he spent an hour asking thoughtful questions about my photography, showing genuine interest in my creative perspective. I remember texting her that night. "He is a keeper. Normal rich people exist." She responded with a string of heart emojis. The trouble began subtly. Amanda started sending me links to articles about professional attire and proper etiquette at business functions. When I visited Seattle wearing my usual jeans and vintage concert tee, she insisted on lending me one of her blazers before introducing me to Jordan friends. Her suggestions came with an edge of criticism that had never been there before. "You would be so pretty if you just made a little effort," she said, once applying mascara to my lashes before a dinner with Jordan parents. I laughed it off, but the words stung in ways she would never understand. The gap between us was widening, and I felt powerless to bridge it. While Amanda climbed the corporate ladder at a prestigious Seattle marketing firm, I built my photography business one client at a time. I specialized in travel photography, collaborating with small tourism boards and boutique hotels to capture the authentic essence of destinations. My income was modest, but sufficient, and more importantly, I woke up every day genuinely excited about my work. Amanda never explicitly criticized my career choice, but her backhanded compliments told me everything I needed to know about her true feelings. "How nice that you get paid to take vacations," she once remarked, after I returned from a challenging 2-week assignment in Peru. "It must be so freeing not to worry about retirement plans or health insurance," she said another time, conveniently forgetting my extensive spreadsheets and careful budgeting that made my freelance lifestyle possible. Each comment built an invisible wall between us, brick by brick. The engagement announcement came via group text, a photo of Amanda beaming next to Jordan, a massive diamond catching the light on her left hand. I called immediately, genuinely thrilled for my sister, despite our growing differences. She sounded happier than I had heard her in years. The celebration dinner was held at the Whitfield Family Country Club, a sprawling property overlooking Puget Sound. I splurged on a new dress and drove my aging Honda into a parking lot filled with luxury vehicles. The maitre d' glanced at my scuffed boots with thinly veiled disdain before directing me to the private dining room. Surrounded by crystal chandeliers and people who discussed summer homes as casually as I would mention a new coffee shop, I felt like an anthropologist observing an unfamiliar culture. Jordan parents regarded me with polite curiosity, as though Amanda had never mentioned having a sister. His mother, Vivian, a willowy woman with perfectly highlighted hair, asked what neighborhood I lived in, then nodded with a tight smile that suggested she had never ventured to that part of town. Despite the discomfort, when Amanda pulled me aside and tearfully asked me to be her maid of honor, I accepted without hesitation. This was my sister, my childhood defender, my first best friend. Of course I would stand beside her. The first bridesmaid meeting shattered that resolve. Held at an upscale bridal boutique that served champagne in crystal flutes. I met the bridal party, 4 women from Amanda's sorority and 2 from her firm. They greeted each other with air kisses and compliments on recent vacations to Santorini and Milan. Jessica, a statuesque blonde, who seemed to be the alpha of the group, looked me up and down before asking, "So you are the artsy sister we have heard about?" Throughout the afternoon, comments about my appearance emerged disguised as helpful suggestions. "Have you considered laser removal for those tattoos before the wedding? The strapless bridesmaid dresses would look so much cleaner without them. That pixie cut is so brave. Do you think you will grow it out for the wedding photos? Long hair is so much more timeless." Amanda said nothing to defend me occasionally, joining in with gentle encouragements to consider their suggestions. By the time we left, I felt like an improvement project rather than a beloved sister. The wedding planning spun rapidly into the realm of extravagance. Amanda hired a celebrity wedding planner whose client list included tech billionaires and minor European royalty. The venue was an exclusive coastal estate that required guests to sign NDAs before attending. The flowers alone were budgeted at $75,000, a figure that made my stomach clench when I thought about my parents' modest retirement savings. When I gently questioned the flower budget during a rare sisters-only lunch, Amanda's face tightened. "This is the most important day of my life, Ella. I am not going to nickel and dime it. Not everyone wants to live like a college student forever." The words hung between us like a gauntlet thrown. I changed the subject, but the conversation never recovered its rhythm. As months passed, I found myself excluded from more planning activities. Amanda forgot to mention cake tastings, then apologized, with thin excuses about my busy travel schedule. Bridal shower planning was taken over by Jessica, who informed me that my input was welcome, but the event vision had already been established. 6 months before the wedding, during the final bridesmaid dress fitting, I discovered my dress had been ordered 2 sizes too small, unlike everyone else. Precisely fitted garment. "There must have been a mix-up with your measurements," Amanda said breezily, as I struggled to breathe in the too tight bodice. The seamstress clucked sympathetically, but noted there was not enough fabric to let it out properly. "Lose 10 pounds, and we can make it work," Jessica suggested, sipping champagne while eyeing my hips critically. I caught Amanda nodding slightly in agreement when she thought I was not looking. The realization hit me like a physical blow. This was no accident. This was a message. 3 weeks before the wedding, Amanda texted asking to meet for coffee. I arrived at our usual spot, an artisanal cafe, halfway between our apartments, and found her already seated in a corner booth, 2 lattes on the table. She was wearing her corporate armor, sleek blazer, straightened hair, perfect makeup. Her engagement ring caught the light every time she moved her hand. Something in her expression made my stomach drop before she even spoke. "Ella," she began, her voice oddly formal, "I have been doing a lot of thinking about the wedding." I wrapped my hands around my mug, suddenly needing its warmth. "The thing is, this wedding has become much bigger than I initially planned. Jordan family has certain expectations about the event, about appearances." She paused, examining her manicure. I waited, a cold feeling spreading through my chest. "After careful consideration, I think it would be best if you step down as maid of honor." The words hung between us. I blinked, certain I had misheard. "What?" Her voice hardened almost imperceptibly. "Actually, Ella, I think it would be best if you do not attend the wedding at all." The cafe sounds faded away. I stared at my sister, this stranger wearing Amanda face. "Is this a joke?" She sighed as if I was being deliberately difficult. "You know it is not. The wedding has a certain aesthetic we are trying to maintain. Your appearance, your attitude, your entire vibe just does not align with that vision." "My appearance, my vibe," I repeated numbly. She leaned forward, lowering her voice. "Vivian has concerns about how you will present in the family photos. Your tattoos, your hair, your general lack of polish. She thinks your presence will distract from the sophisticated atmosphere we are creating." Vivian, Jordan mother. The woman who had been whispering in my sister's ear for months. "And what does Jordan think about banning your only sister from your wedding?" I managed to ask, my voice barely steady. Amanda had the grace to look slightly ashamed. "He understands the importance of making certain concessions for family harmony. His relationship with his parents is important." Translation: Jordan was either complicit or spineless. Either way, he had chosen his family over mine. "You are choosing these people over me," I said, not bothering to hide the hurt in my voice. These people who have known you for what, 3 years? Over the sister who held you through panic attacks after mom and dad split up? Amanda's face flushed. That was a long time ago, Ella. We are adults now, with adult priorities. If you truly loved me, you would understand what this wedding means for my future, for my relationship with my in-laws. The words stabbed like a knife. Understand. You want me to understand being erased because I embarrass you. She straightened, slipping fully into her corporate persona. I am not asking for your permission. I am informing you of my decision. The wedding planner will be removing you from all the official documentation. Jessica will take over your maid of honor duties. As if sensing my gathering storm, she reached into her purse and placed an envelope on the table. I have already booked you a spa weekend at a resort in Arizona for the wedding dates. All expenses paid. Think of it as a consolation gift. I looked at the envelope without touching it. The final insult. A payoff. I do not need your charity weekend, I said. Standing up so abruptly my chair screeched against the floor. What I needed was a sister who would stand by me the way I always stood by you. Clearly, that person no longer exists. I walked out, without looking back, her calls of my name fading as the cafe door closed behind me. The aftermath was worse than the initial blow. My parents called that evening, their voices careful and neutral. They would still attend the wedding, they explained gently. They could not take sides. Family was complicated. Perhaps this would all blow over after the wedding stress ended. I hung up feeling more alone than I had ever been in my life. Over the following days, I discovered Amanda had been busy. Mutual childhood friends reached out with strange questions. Had I really threatened to make a scene at the wedding? Was it true? I had refused to comply with the dress code? Was I actually planning to bring a random date to the reception? The lies spread faster than I could counter them. Family members sent awkward messages, expressing disappointment in my behavior. Social media became a minefield of wedding preparation posts where my absence was conspicuous but unremarked upon. I watched from the digital sidelines as Amanda lived her dream bridal experience without a backward glance. For 3 weeks, I barely left my apartment, except for client meetings I could not reschedule. I stopped checking social media. I declined calls. I ordered takeout and stared at my walls, trying to process the complete dissolution of what I had thought was an unbreakable bond. One night, unable to sleep, I began methodically cleaning my apartment. In the back of my closet, buried under winter sweaters, I found a travel book about Japan I had bought years ago during a phase of obsession with Japanese photography. The pages were dog-eared marked, with post-it notes of places I had dreamed of visiting. On my laptop, I checked my calendar. I had been saving up vacation time for the wedding and the weeks after, planning to help Amanda settle into married life. 2 full weeks blocked off that I now had no plans for. At 3 a.m, fueled by a combination of grief, anger, and reckless impulse, I booked a flight to Tokyo departing in 2 days. I used the money I had set aside for my bridesmaid dress, alterations, wedding gift, and new shoes. If Amanda did not want me at her perfect wedding, I would be as far away as geographically possible. I would disappear to the other side of the world while she lived her carefully curated life. It was the first decision in weeks that made me feel something other than numb despair. I told no one about my plans to leave the country. The morning of my flight, I posted a single, deliberately vague photo on Instagram, my passport, next to an airport coffee cup. The caption read simply, "Sometimes you need to lose yourself to find yourself." Then I turned off notifications and boarded my 13-hour flight to Tokyo. The journey itself became a strange liminal space where I existed between worlds suspended above the Pacific Ocean, neither in my past life nor yet in my new adventure. I slept fitfully, watched half of 3 movies, and wrote bitter, unsent letters to Amanda in my journal. By the time we began our descent into Narita Airport, I felt hollow but calm, like a storm had passed through me and left nothing but quiet devastation in its wake. Tokyo hit my senses like a beautiful assault. The sheer density of humanity, the incomprehensible signs, the unfamiliar rhythm of Japanese speech all around me. For the first time in weeks, my brain was too overwhelmed to dwell on Amanda's betrayal. I focused entirely on navigating the complex transit system to reach the small ryokan in Asakusa I had booked on a travel blog recommendation. The ryokan owner, an elderly woman named Fumiko, spoke limited English but communicated through gestures and the universal language of hospitality. She showed me to a tiny but immaculate room with tatami mats and sliding paper doors, demonstrating how to unfold the futon and properly wear the yukata robe left for guests. Her kindness in the face of my obvious disorientation brought unexpected tears to my eyes. "It is first time Japan?" she asked, offering a cup of green tea. I nodded, accepting the warm cup gratefully. She smiled, patting my hand. "First time, always special. Japan will show you something important if you look with open heart." I doubted Japan could heal the wound my sister had inflicted, but I smiled politely and thanked her. That first night I slept more deeply than I had in weeks, lulled by the distant temple bells and the unfamiliar firmness of the futon. The next morning I set out with my camera and no particular plan. I wandered the narrow streets of Asakusa, photographing morning light on ancient temple roofs, elderly shopkeepers arranging their wares, school children in neat uniforms clutching backpacks. Without the pressure of a client brief or social media content, I simply captured what moved me. The ordinary moments of Japanese daily life became extraordinary through my lens. On my 3rd day, while struggling to order lunch at a tiny ramen shop, I met Kai, an American expat teaching English in Tokyo. With his half-Japanese heritage and fluent language skills, he became an unexpected bridge between cultures. "You look like you could use a translator, and possibly a friend," he said, helping me navigate the ticket machine outside the shop. His smile was genuine, lacking the polished insincerity I had grown accustomed to from Amanda's new social circle. Over steaming bowls of tonkatsu ramen, I gave him the abbreviated version of why I was in Japan alone. Family stuff, needed space, impulsive decision. He nodded, not pressing for details. Sometimes the best discoveries happen when we are running away from something else. When he offered to show me some less touristy parts of Tokyo the next day, I surprised myself by accepting. My usual caution about strange men in foreign countries was outweighed by the simple human need for connection. Kai became my impromptu guide, showing me hidden corners of Tokyo I would never have discovered on my own. We explored tiny shrines tucked between skyscrapers, vintage record stores in Shimokitazawa, and a rooftop garden where elderly residents grew vegetables amid the urban sprawl. 5 days into my trip, we took a day trip to Kamakura to see the Great Buddha. Standing before the massive bronze statue, weathered by centuries yet serene in its permanence, I felt a strange shift in perspective. My pain was valid but temporary. The Buddha had witnessed hundreds of years of human suffering and joy, and still maintained its peaceful countenance. "What brought you to Japan originally?" I asked Kai, as we shared dango from a street vendor, the sweet rice dumplings sticky on our fingers. He was quiet for a moment, gazing at the distant mountains. "I was supposed to take over my father's insurance business in Chicago. Had the whole future mapped out, business degree, marry my college girlfriend, 2.5 kids in the suburbs. Then, my dad died suddenly my senior year, and something in me just broke open. I realized I was living his dream, not mine. I nodded, understanding, completely. So you ran away to Japan. He laughed. I prefer to think of it as running towards something, not away. I came for a 1-year teaching contract to clear my head. That was 7 years ago. We sat in companionable silence, watching tour groups come and go from the Buddha. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I had turned it back on to check emails from clients, but had been ignoring the barrage of texts from Amanda and my parents. The wedding was now just 3 days away, and the messages had grown increasingly frantic. Family drama, Kai asked, noticing my expression. My sister is getting married this weekend, I said the first time I had spoken it aloud since arriving in Japan. She uninvited me because I do not fit her wedding aesthetic, too alternative for her fancy society in-laws. Instead of the sympathy or outrage I expected, Kai simply asked, "What do the Japanese call that feeling when you are exactly where you need to be, even if it is not where you plan to be?" I do not know. Kai smiled. Neither do I, but I am pretty sure you are feeling it right now. That evening, after returning to Tokyo, I turned off my phone entirely. The constant notifications were a tether to a life I was trying to temporarily escape. Amanda problems, her wedding, her rejection. These were realities I would have to face eventually, but not now. Not while I was discovering parts of myself that had nothing to do with being Amanda's sister or the family disappointment. The next morning, Fumiko invited me to join her for a visit to Meiji Shrine. We walked in companionable silence through the towering Torii gates and along the gravel paths flanked by ancient trees. The shrine itself was a model of elegant simplicity, so different from the ornate cathedrals of Western tradition. Fumiko showed me how to properly cleanse my hands and mouth at the purification fountain, how to bow respectfully before the shrine, and how to tie my written prayer to the prayer wall where thousands of others fluttered in the breeze. In Japan, we believe kami spirits are everywhere, she explained in her halting English. In trees, in stones, in silence between words. We just forget to notice. What do you pray for? I asked, watching her carefully fold her paper. She smiled, her face a map of gentle wrinkles. Not pray for, pray with. Different. I thank spirits for beauty in world even when heart is heavy. I thought about Amanda, about the sister I had lost long before the wedding uninvitation. I wrote my own prayer, not asking for reconciliation or revenge, but simply acknowledging my pain and expressing hope that both Amanda and I would find our true paths, whether together or apart. As I tied my prayer among countless others, I felt a profound sense of being both utterly insignificant and part of something larger than myself. My family drama, which had consumed my entire existence for weeks, seemed smaller here, just one thread in the vast tapestry of human experience. That night, I sat on the tiny balcony of my ryokan room, listening to the distant sounds of the city and watching the glow of Tokyo Tower in the distance. For the first time since Amanda coffee shop bombshell, I felt a tentative peace. Not happiness exactly, but the quiet certainty that I would be okay regardless of what happened back home. 1 week into my Japan adventure found me in Kyoto, staying at a traditional ryokan, overlooking the Kamo River. The morning had been spent exploring Arashiyama Bamboo Grove, my camera capturing the ethereal light filtering through towering green stalks. I had lunch at a tiny restaurant where the elderly chef served me whatever he decided to make, smiling at my appreciative nods despite the language barrier. That evening, sitting on the tatami floor of my room with a cup of green tea, I faced the decision I had been avoiding. Amanda wedding was tomorrow. Despite everything, Some small, stubborn part of me wondered if I should have been there, if my absence would be something I would regret later. Family was complicated, messy, but still family. With a deep breath, I turned on my phone for the first time in 3 days. The cascade of notifications was immediate and overwhelming. Dozens of missed calls, hundreds of text messages, email notifications, social media alerts. My phone buzzed continuously for nearly a full minute as everything caught up. Ignoring the texts from Amanda and my parents for the moment, I noticed multiple messages from Sarah, my childhood friend, who had remained close to both me and Amanda over the years. Her texts started casually, then grew increasingly urgent. "Hey stranger, hope Japan is amazing. Ella, something crazy is happening with the wedding. Call me when you can. Ella, seriously, you need to check your phone. Everything is falling apart here. The wedding is off. Complete disaster. Amanda needs you. Please call when you see this." The most recent message had come just hours ago. "I know you are hurt and probably enjoying the karma, but your sister is in a bad place. Just letting you know." My hands shaking slightly, I opened Instagram. My feed was flooded with oblique references to dramatic events. Mutual friends posting vague support messages. A few wedding guests expressing shock and offering prayers for healing. Then I found the video. Posted by someone I did not recognize, probably a guest from Jordan's side, it showed the rehearsal dinner an elegant affair at what appeared to be a waterfront restaurant. The caption read simply, "And you thought your family gatherings were dramatic." The video started normally enough people in formal attire, mingling with champagne flutes. Then the camera swung to capture raised voices at the head table. Jordan and Amanda in a heated argument, her face flushed with anger, his tight with restraint. Jordan's mother standing nearby, her expression a mixture of horror and vindication. Suddenly, Amanda stood grabbing a champagne bottle and smashing it against the table glass, and expensive champagne exploding outward. The video shook as the person filming backed away, but still captured Amanda screaming words that were mostly bleeped in the upload, pointing accusingly at someone off camera. The final frames showed Jordan grabbing Amanda, wrist her, spinning around and slapping him hard across the face, then storming out while guests stood frozen in shock. The video had over 50,000 views. My heart pounding, I scrolled through comments seeking context, finding mostly shocked reactions and a few cruel jokes. Finally, buried in the comments, someone wrote, "To those asking what happened, the groom was caught cheating with the wedding planner the night before. Apparently been going on for months." I called Sarah immediately. "Oh, thank God," she answered on the first ring. "I have been trying to reach you for days." "What happened?" I asked, still struggling to process the video I had just watched. Sarah exhaled heavily. "It is a complete dumpster fire, Ella. The short version is Jordan has been sleeping with the wedding planner for months. His assistant caught them together at the venue during final preparations and told Amanda. Jesus. When? 2 days ago. But that is not even the worst part. Apparently Jordan confessed it was not just a fling. He and this wedding planner Meredith something have been seeing each other seriously. He was planning to call off the wedding after his family business merger went through next month. Was only staying with Amanda to keep his parents happy until the deal closed. I sat in stunned silence, trying to imagine how Amanda must have felt. For all her faults, for all the pain she had caused me, the betrayal she had experienced was devastating. "The video," I managed to ask. Sarah sighed. "The rehearsal dinner was already scheduled, and Amanda insisted on going through with it, said she would confront him publicly. Your parents tried to talk her down, but she was beyond reason." She completely lost it when she saw Jordan family there, especially his mother. Apparently, Vivian knew about the affair and encouraged it because she never thought Amanda was good enough for their family. The pieces clicked into place. Vivian's insistence that I be removed from the wedding had nothing to do with my appearance. She had been systematically isolating Amanda from her support system, knowing what was coming. "Where is she now?" I asked, my protective instincts surging despite everything. "Holed up in her apartment. She is not taking calls, not even from your parents. The wedding has been officially canceled, deposits lost, guests notified." The video going viral was the final straw. She deleted all her social media accounts this morning. I stared out at the peaceful Kyoto evening, the distant temples illuminated against the darkening sky. Worlds apart from the chaos unfolding at home. "Are you coming back?" Sarah asked tentatively. The question hung in the air. A week ago, I might have felt vindication, even satisfaction at Amanda comeuppance. The sister, who had deemed me not good enough for her perfect wedding, was now facing public humiliation and heartbreak. Karma had been swift and merciless. But instead of satisfaction, I felt only sadness. For the sister I had loved. For the relationship we had lost long before this final catastrophe. "I do not know yet," I answered honestly. "I need some time to think." After hanging up, I scrolled through the barrage of texts from Amanda. They evolved from defensive, "You could at least respond so mom and dad know you are safe," to frantic, "Everything is falling apart. Ella, I need you," to devastated, "You were right about everything. I have lost everything. Please come home." The last message, sent just hours ago, simply read, "I understand now." My parents' messages showed their own progression, from irritation at my disappearance, to worry about my safety, to desperate pleas to contact my sister in her time of need. I set the phone down and walked to the open window of my ryokan room. The sounds of Kyoto evening filtered in distant temple bells, the gentle rush of the river below, the murmur of pedestrians on the street. I had come to Japan to escape my pain, only to find myself faced with a choice about returning to help the very person who had caused it. The easy choice would be to stay, to continue my journey of self-discovery, while Amanda dealt with the consequences of her choices. The harder path would be to return to be the bigger person, to offer support despite everything. I picked up my phone again and began typing a response to Amanda, then stopped. The compassionate thing to do might actually be giving us both space. Amanda needed to face her decisions without me swooping in to save her, and I needed to complete this journey I had started. I texted Sarah, "Instead, I am extending my trip. Please tell Amanda I will call her tomorrow. I need one more night to process everything." Then I turned off my phone again and sat on the tatami floor, meditating on the strange turns life could take in just one short week. The next morning, I woke before dawn and took a train to a ryokan near Mount Fuji that Kai had recommended. The traditional inn perched on a hillside with perfect views of the iconic mountain, its peak often shrouded in clouds, but occasionally revealing itself to patient observers. The innkeeper, a third-generation owner named Takashi, showed me to a simple room with floor-to-ceiling windows framing Fuji in the distance. "This is best place for reflection," he said in careful English. "Mountain teaches patience, sometimes hidden, sometimes revealed, always there." I spent the morning hiking nearby trails, my camera capturing the interplay of light and shadow across the forested slopes. By afternoon, I felt centered enough to make the call I had been avoiding. Finding a quiet spot on the ryokan terrace, I turned on my phone and requested a video call with Amanda. She answered almost immediately, her face appearing on my screen, causing an involuntary tightening in my chest. She looked terrible. Her usual perfect appearance had crumbled completely. Hair, unwashed eyes, swollen from crying skin, blotchy, without her carefully applied makeup. She was wearing what appeared to be an old college sweatshirt, a far cry from her usual polished wardrobe. "Ella," she breathed, as if she could not quite believe I had called. The relief in her voice was palpable. "Where are you?" "Japan?" I said, simply turning my phone to show her the view of Mount Fuji before returning to my face. "I heard about what happened." Her face crumpled, fresh tears spilling down already tracked cheeks. "It is all gone, Ella. Everything. The wedding, Jordan, my dignity, my future, all of it gone. Despite everything, my heart ached, seeing her so broken. Tell me what happened in your words," I said quietly. She took a shuddering breath. "Jordan was cheating on me with Meredith, the wedding planner, for months right under my nose. All those late-night planning sessions, venue visits, vendor meetings, they were sneaking around behind my back laughing at me." The humiliation in her voice was raw, unfiltered. "But that is not even the worst part," she continued. "His family knew. They all knew. Vivian encouraged it because she never thought I was good enough for precious Jordan. New money, she called me. Said my family lacked proper breeding." Amanda wiped roughly at her tears. "All this time I was killing myself trying to fit into their world, and they were just tolerating me until Jordan found someone more suitable. Realization dawned on me slowly. So that is why you cut me out of the wedding. I was too much of a reminder of where you came from." She nodded miserably. "Vivian made comments about your tattoos, your career, your whole vibe, said having you as maid of honor would just highlight the difference between our family and theirs. I was so desperate for her approval. I actually listened. I chose these awful people over my own sister." I sat with that admission, letting it settle. Part of me wanted to say, "I told you so," to twist the knife of her regret deeper. But looking at her devastated face, I found that impulse fading. "I am so sorry, Ella," she whispered. "You were the one person who always accepted me exactly as I was, and I threw that away for people who were using me the whole time." The irony was not lost on me. "What are you going to do now?" She laughed bitterly. "Well, I have been publicly humiliated. That video has hundreds of thousands of views now. Jordan family is spreading rumors that I had mental problems, that I was obsessed with their family status. My boss suggested I take a leave of absence until the gossip dies down. So basically, my entire life has imploded." I watched a bird soar past my terrace, riding thermals against the backdrop of the mountain. "Do you still love him?" Amanda looked startled by the question. "I do not even know anymore," she admitted after a pause. "I was so caught up in the wedding and being accepted by his family and the life I thought we were building. I lost sight of whether I actually loved Jordan himself, or just the idea of being Jordan's wife." Her honesty surprised me. It was the most genuine thing she had said to me in years. "When are you coming home?" she asked, her voice small. "I need you, Ella. You are the only one who will tell me the truth right now." I took a deep breath. "I am not coming home yet, Amanda." Her face fell. "But why?" "Because you are still angry with me. I know I deserve it, but please, I am falling apart here." "It is not about punishment," I explained carefully. "For the first time in my adult life, I am putting myself first. This trip is something I need both for my career and for my soul. And honestly, you need some time without me swooping in to fix things." "What do you mean?" I leaned closer to the screen. "Amanda, this has been our pattern since we were kids. You make choices, they blow up, and I come running to help put the pieces back together. But this time, I think you need to sit with the consequences and figure out who you really are without anyone else defining that for you." Tears welled in her eyes again. "So you are abandoning me when I need you most." "No," I said firmly. "I am loving you enough to let you find your own strength, and I am loving myself enough to continue this journey I have started." She was quiet for a long moment, absorbing my words. When she spoke again, her voice had changed subtly. "You have really found something there, haven't you, in Japan?" I nodded, surprised by her perceptiveness. "I think I am finding myself again. The me that existed before I was defined as your sister, or the family disappointment, or the artsy one." "Mom and Dad want to know when you are coming home too," she said. "They are worried about you." I felt a flicker of irritation. Are they worried, or are they hoping I will come fix their other daughter? Amanda winced, then sighed. "Probably both, if we are being honest. They have been helping me deal with all the wedding cancellations. Did you know? They took out a second mortgage to help pay for it all?" The information hit me like a physical blow. "No, I did not know that." "I begged them not to tell you," she admitted. "I knew you would try to talk them out of it. Now they have lost all that money because of me." I closed my eyes, briefly processing this new layer of family complication. When I return, we will all need to have an honest conversation about finances and boundaries. "So, you are coming back eventually?" Hope flickered across her face. "Of course I am, Amanda. Japan is wonderful, but my life is in Seattle. I am just not cutting this trip short. I need this time." She nodded slowly. "I understand. Or at least I am trying to." We talked for nearly an hour more. About Jordan betrayal, about her public humiliation, about the friends who had vanished when her perfect life imploded. But we also talked about childhood memories, about the sisters we had once been to each other, about the possibility of finding our way back to some version of that closeness. Before ending the call, I said the words I had been holding back. "I love you, Amanda. That never changed, even when you hurt me. But I need you to understand that I love myself too, and that means I cannot always be your safety net. When I come home, we need to build something new between us, something healthier for both of us." She wiped away fresh tears. "I love you too, Ella, and I promise I will try to deserve your forgiveness someday." After the call ended, I sat watching Mount Fuji until the evening clouds obscured it completely. For the first time since Amanda Coffee Shop bombshell, I felt the tight knot of hurt in my chest begin to loosen. Not gone, but transforming into something I could carry more easily. That night, I wrote in my journal for hours, processing the conversation and the strange turn of events that had brought my sister and me to this moment of painful honesty. The universe had a peculiar way of creating balance, though I would never have wished such public humiliation on Amanda, even at my most hurt. I extended my Japan trip by an additional month, a decision that felt both selfish and necessary. Amanda and I video called every few days, brief conversations that were sometimes awkward but increasingly authentic. She began therapy, started volunteering at a local animal shelter, small steps toward rebuilding her sense of self beyond the identity she had lost. And I continued my journey through Japan, capturing its beauty through my lens, finding pieces of myself in temple gardens and busy markets and quiet mountain paths. 2 months after my impulsive flight from Seattle, I stood in a small gallery in Kyoto, surrounded by my photographs. What had begun as personal documentation of my journey had evolved into something more when Takashi, the Mount Fuji ryokan owner, saw my work and connected me with his nephew, a gallery curator in Kyoto. Ordinary Revelations, the exhibition was called. 40 photographs capturing not the postcard moments of Japan, but the small, easily overlooked instances of beauty and humanity. An elderly couple sharing an umbrella in sudden rain, a child feeding pigeons in a quiet temple courtyard morning, light transforming a simple vending machine into a monument of glowing color. Local visitors nodded appreciatively as they moved through the space, sometimes stopping to ask questions through a translator the gallery had provided. A few international tourists purchased prints my first sales as a fine art photographer rather than a commercial one. Between conversations, I checked my phone and found a message from Amanda with a photo attached. She had cut her hair into a bob similar to my own pixie style, discarding the long highlighted waves that had been her signature look for years. Off to my first day teaching basic business classes at the community center, she wrote, terrified and excited. Video call tomorrow. I smiled, typing back a quick response of encouragement. Our weekly video calls had evolved from tear-filled confessions to increasingly normal sister conversations. The healing between us was tentative but real, aided, perhaps by the geographical distance, that allowed us both to evolve independently. Amanda had surprised me by refusing to return to her corporate job after her leave of absence ended. Instead, she had volunteered to teach business basics to low-income women looking to start small enterprises, discovering an unexpected passion for education. The woman who had once judged my modest income now talked excitedly about helping others find financial independence on their own terms. My return flight to Seattle was booked for the following week. The thought brought mixed emotions: excitement to see family and friends, anxiety about navigating new boundaries, grief for the Japan experience I would be leaving behind. Kai had helped me find a subletter for my Seattle apartment and traveled with me through several regions of Japan over the past months. Our friendship deepening into something that defied easy categorization. He would be returning to Tokyo tomorrow, his teaching responsibilities resuming after the holiday break. I have something for you, he said that evening as we shared our final dinner together at a tiny restaurant near my gallery exhibition. He slid a small package across the table. Inside was a handmade journal, its cover featuring a traditional Japanese marbling technique in blues and greens that reminded me of the ocean separating my two worlds. For your next chapter, he explained, whatever and wherever that might be. Later that night, alone in my small rented apartment, I began packing my belongings, sorting through the items I had accumulated during my extended stay. My phone chimed with a calendar alert 3 days until my parents' anniversary dinner. I had arranged to surprise them, arriving home just in time for the celebration. The thought of seeing them brought a complex wave of emotions. Our relationship had shifted during my absence, our calls becoming more honest as I gently but firmly established new boundaries. They had apologized for their neutrality during the wedding drama, acknowledging how their fear of conflict had often left me feeling unsupported. Landing at SeaTac Airport felt surreal, the familiar surroundings slightly disorienting after months away. Amanda was waiting at arrivals, her new haircut framing a face that looked both familiar and somehow different, more authentic. We hugged for a long time, neither speaking, communicating everything in that embrace. When we finally pulled apart, she touched my face gently. "Welcome home, traveler," she said with a smile that reminded me of our childhood. The drive to our parents' house in Portland was filled with comfortable conversation and occasional comfortable silences. Amanda had helped them refinance their mortgage, using her business knowledge to find them a better rate that eased the financial strain of the canceled wedding. She has changed, I thought, watching her profile as she drove. Or perhaps she had simply returned to the sister I had known before. Status and appearances became her god. Our parents cried when we arrived together, the four of us embracing in a messy group hug on their front porch. The anniversary dinner became a celebration of family reconnection, all of us carefully navigating this new, more honest relationship we were building. Over the following weeks, Amanda and I developed a tradition of Sunday hikes in the mountains surrounding Seattle, conversations flowing more easily on the trail than they ever had across coffee shop tables. She spoke openly about her therapy journey, about recognizing how her insecurities had made her vulnerable to people like Jordan and his family. I needed their validation so badly that I was willing to become someone else entirely, she confessed one misty morning, as we reached a scenic overlook. I thought if I just tried hard enough, became perfect enough, I would finally feel worthy. I understand that feeling better than you might think, I admitted. I just chose a different path of rebellion instead of conformity. We both laughed at the truth of it, these opposite strategies emerging from the same childhood wounds. In early spring, I launched my first Seattle gallery show, featuring both my Japan portfolio and new work exploring the concept of home and belonging. Amanda helped organize the opening night event, her organizational skills perfectly complementing my creative vision. To my surprise, Jordan mother Vivian attended the gallery opening, approaching me with obvious discomfort as I chatted with guests. "Your work is quite moving," she said stiffly. "I did not expect such depth." I thanked her, politely curious about her presence, but unwilling to cause a scene. As if sensing my question, she added, "Your sister invited me. She thought it important that I see the talent I so readily dismissed." Before I could respond, Amanda appeared at my side, her posture relaxed but her eyes watchful. Enjoying the exhibition, Vivian, she asked, her voice pleasant but cool. "Very much so," Vivian replied, glancing between us. "Your sister is quite gifted." "I know," Amanda said simply. "I have always known that even when I failed to appreciate it properly." The interaction lasted only moments, but it represented something significant. Amanda standing firmly in her authentic self, neither seeking approval nor holding on to bitterness. Later that night, after the successful exhibition, Amanda and I sat on my apartment balcony, sharing a bottle of wine and looking at the Seattle skyline. "Do you ever regret going to Japan?" she asked suddenly. "If you had stayed, maybe you could have warned me about Jordan." I considered the question carefully. "No," I said finally. We both needed that time apart to become the people who could actually hear each other. If I had stayed, we would have fallen into our old patterns. Me rescuing you, resenting my help even while needing it. She nodded, accepting the truth of it. "I am actually grateful for how everything unfolded, as painful as it was. I like who I am becoming now much more than who I was trying to be then." I raised my glass to hers. "To authentic living wherever it leads us." She clinked her glass against mine. "And to sisters who find their way back to each other no matter how far they travel." 1 year after my impulsive escape to Japan, I launched a photography workshop series called Finding Beauty in the Ordinary, teaching participants to use photography as a mindfulness practice. Amanda, occasionally co-guest, taught sessions about breaking free from external expectations, her corporate background giving her unique insight into the pressures of conformity. My career evolved to include both commercial work that paid the bills and fine art photography that fed my soul. Amanda found her calling teaching business ethics and entrepreneurship at a community college, her firsthand experience with corporate culture, providing valuable perspective for her students. We still disagreed, still occasionally stepped on each other's toes, still sometimes fell into old patterns during family holidays. But underneath it all ran a new current of mutual respect and genuine appreciation for our differences. Sometimes the most valuable thing we can lose is the image of who we thought we needed to be. Sometimes relationships need to break completely before they can be rebuilt on a stronger foundation. And sometimes we need to travel halfway around the world to find ourselves only to discover that coming home is part of the journey too. If you have ever had to rebuild a relationship from the ground up, or found yourself in a place you never expected to be, share your story in the comments below. Life takes us on unexpected journeys, but connecting with others who understand makes the path a little less lonely. Hit that subscribe button if you want to hear more stories of healing and transformation, and give this video a like if it resonated with you. Thank you for traveling this path with me today, and remember that sometimes our greatest strength is found in our most vulnerable moments.